Hi, and welcome back to Basement Backgammon. On this episode, we are going to be looking at a board that I just got yesterday, as a matter of fact, from a collector. I'm not sure if it's a collector, but somebody who was selling it online on eBay. And I just want to say about eBay is a pretty good source for getting vintage boards. The only problem with eBay, A, it's expensive. The transaction fees are pretty expensive. And B, you're bidding against other people, but that's to be expected in an auction format. And C, the not everything out there is as advertised. This is not an example of that. This was a backgammon board, and it was just advertised as a backgammon board. But if you ask for a lot of good pictures from the seller, they'll usually give you more than just what they posted. Not always, but sometimes. And sometimes you'll get some interesting details out of that. One of the details that I got out of this was this board was made by a company that I had never heard of before called W.C. Horn & Brothers. And I did a little bit of research on that, and they were a game manufacturer back in the day, but I've never seen a backgammon board from them. This is the first one I've seen, which is why I bought it. Did not pay a lot of money for it, and it's quite a nice surprise. So let's go through it very quickly. There's nothing particularly amazing about this. This is a travel board. It's got your standard leather handle and standard hardware for that handle. However, the closures are a type I've never seen before. They don't lock, but I've never seen this particular shape before in a backgammon board, so that was unique for me. Just seeing these closures. And I'm going to open this up. And another thing that was interesting was what this board came with. So this board dates to the late 30s, early 40s, as best as we can tell. And it comes with this instruction booklet. This is why I think it's from W.C. Horn Brother and Company. There it is, published by 1939. Now, it's true that some people do take these old booklets and they put them into boards just so that there's instruction booklet, and it's not necessarily the same manufacturer. They'll mix and match them. Sometimes that happens. But in this case, given that this booklet looks in that time period, I'm going to guess that this is the booklet that came with this board. So if this says published 1939, it's got to be at the earliest 1939 because it came in the board, and probably mid-40s, early to mid-40s. It's got standard how to play, that sort of thing, how to play the double game. You will notice the word doublets is used for a double when you roll a double on the dice. That was the original term. We just call it, I roll double ones or doubles, we call it, but they call them doublets in the traditional rule. Also, there are rules of casting. Casting is literally the rules of how to throw the dice. So there's interesting rules listed here for how to play by two players, how to literally throw the dice, what those rules are, scoring by points, and then chouette rules over here, where they talk about the box. You see, 3 persons play. Each player, what does I say? Each player casts. Oh yeah, casts 1 die, and the one who casts the highest number is said to be in the box, etc., etc. So you can see the terms that we use for box and captain. Those are in use for quite a while. So let's see. I'll fold this up here, show you what else. This is another interesting feature that I've not seen in these travel boards. Roll-up cups are pretty standard, especially when the board doesn't have a checker tray. However, these roll-up cups are octagonal. Hexagonal. I don't want to screw that up. And I've never seen roll-up hexagonal cups like this. At least I've never seen them in person. I think I've seen a picture once or twice. So we know that the W.C. Horn Company made these. And that's an interesting little thing. They're usually round. it's harder to make them like this. So I'm not exactly sure, but what they did, it seems that this is a piece of leather, and they inserted hard pieces of cardboard, slats of cardboard, and then folded it up like that. So the hard piece of cardboard keeps it from rolling up into a circle. These are also in great shape because the bottom is still attached to the cup. A lot of older boards, the bottom detaches after age. And you can see there's green felt inside. The field is in remarkable shape. Like a lot of these vintage travel boards, the field is nothing more than a very thin piece of cork that's been painted with the points, and it's been pasted onto the back. There is no padding on this, so it's a little hard. However, this does come with the original checkers, which just makes it quite nice. This is a 1.5 inch set. It comes with the original checkers and possibly the original dice. I'm not 100% sure. They do look vintage, these dice. So there is a possibility that these are the original dice. You can see on one of them, there's a printing error, and the one is missing on the yellow, which is something I did not notice before, and I'm just noticing now. And I think this is just simply a printing error from the manufacturer. The dice are the same in all other regards. Same patina, same color, same everything. They match perfectly. They are a matching set, but there's a printing error. There's no hole on the one. So that's an interesting little feature as well. So these are very pretty 1.5 inch checkers. Catalin, standard for the period. Considering the price I paid for this, I think I paid about $125 for this board. I think I got a pretty good set of checkers to go with it. Let's see what it looks like. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a little while, you'll know that I do my 6 across test. And you'll also know that the 6 across test usually is not very good for vintage boards. They did not give, in most cases, a lot of thought to whether or not there was too much slop in the board. And they didn't engineer the boards for the size of the checkers. And I expect when we do the 6 across test, that's going to be the same for this board. Just by quick look of the eye. However, the colors against the black and red, which are the traditional colors in the vintage boards, black and red points with the circular finials, the colors of the checkers look really, really sharp, really smart. So let's do our 6 across test, and sure enough, tons of slop here, tons of slop. And going across, being that this is a travel board, it's 11.5. Let's see how this sounds. I'm not gonna fold up the cups for this because I don't want to. I don't like to fold up vintage cups. I don't want to put too much pressure on them. And we got a 4 and a 1. Let's do 4 and a 1. 5 and a 3. Easy. Oh, what am I doing? Almost missed that. 3, 5. That's a hit. It also allows me to show you the center. You can see the center is quite wide for the checker. So I got a little bit of a gap in between. I don't love the gap, but it is wide enough to accommodate a 1.5 inch checker with no problems whatsoever. Nice sized bar. 2 and 2. 1, 2, 3. Nope. 1, 2, 3. 4. Last one. 6 and 2. 2 and 6. Starting to look a little ugly. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. This is a very cool W.C. Horn Brothers travel board from best guess late 30s to early 40s. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you like this.